Kiru wakes in stone darkness with chains biting his wrists. A cold voice inside urges him to lift his gaze. It promises truth beyond pain and beyond forced obedience. He crawls through a ruined passage and breathes bitter dust. His hands tremble from drugs and years of learned fear. Moonlight spills ahead and draws him outside the wrecked walls. A star spirit floats above water that shines like silver. Her calm gaze feels gentle yet terrifyingly absolute to him. She offers a gift that reveals the world without mercy. Kiru accepts because ignorance already murdered his earlier hope. Fire blooms behind his eyes as the halcyon eye opens. Threads of mana appear across air like bright stitched veins. Past and future slam together inside his skull with force. He sees himself kneeling and screaming and smiling and breaking. The vision drags him backward into memories he buried deep. Years earlier priests named him the recovery hero before crowds. People cheered loudly while banners promised holy victory and glory. Kiru believed heroes protected villages and ended suffering forever. That belief shattered when soldiers seized him without warning. They locked a collar on his neck and called him property. Princess Flare smiled sweetly and ordered obedience as sacred duty. Guards forced medicine down his throat until thoughts turned foggy. Kiru healed wounded knights and felt every broken nerve inside. Each cure poured strangers' pain through him and stole his breath. Healing copied skills and also copied terror and despair. Blade returned from battle laughing and demanded another miracle now. Bullet mocked his cries and treated him like broken equipment. Flare praised their glory while ignoring the healer shaking nearby. The palace glittered with gold while his cell stank of rust. Days became forced marches and endless healing under harsh watch. He touched shattered flesh and felt impact moments crack bones. He repaired them and felt every scream remain inside him. When healing ended, the court thanked Flare and forgot him. Guards shoved him back and tightened the collar with pleasure. Kiru stopped praying for rescue and started watching patterns. He timed patrol steps and listened for keys scraping belts. He studied Flare eyes to predict when cruelty struck next. He stored each insult like tinder waiting for a spark. His hatred grew heavy, yet his patience grew sharper still. Some nights they starved him to make obedience feel earned. Other nights they flooded him with drugs until he forgot names. He woke bruised and learned shame can be another prison. He heard Blade boasting of raids while servants cleaned blood. He heard Bullet laughing about terrorizing villages for sport. Kiru healed them anyway because refusal meant torture and death. Every forced miracle stole innocence and built cold calculation. He noticed healing revealed designs beneath skin and beneath magic. He saw how mana moved and how bodies stored strength. He practiced quietly using fragments copied from the wounded and dying. He copied sword grips from champions and breath control from veterans. He copied tactics from commanders whose blood warmed his palms. He copied cruelty too and hated himself for each gain. Still he survived because survival became his only remaining purpose. War reached its final stage against the Demon Lord. Flare dragged Kiru to the front line like another supply crate. Explosions shook the sky and screams swallowed trumpet calls whole. Elixirs ran out and heroes demanded salvation immediately from him. Kiru healed them and tasted their greed and cowardice. He saw they valued him less than horses and rations. Amid chaos he spotted the Demon Lord wounded near rubble. A philosopher's stone pulsed beside her like trapped starlight breathing. The halcyon eye showed its power with brutal clarity. Kiru realized the stone amplified magic beyond human limits. Flare ordered him to seize it and surrender it quickly. Kiru understood healing could rewrite life and reality itself. He grabbed the stone and felt time tremble around bones. For the first time he chose himself over their empire. Power surged and the battlefield blurred into white silent void. His vision snapped forward and backward like shattered film strips. Years folded together as if stitched by unseen hands. His mind screamed that memories might break during reversal. He anchored himself to names that burned with hatred. Flare and Blade and Bullet carved themselves into his resolve. The world rewound and slammed him into an earlier morning. Kiru woke in the kingdom again with knowledge intact. The collar remained, yet his spirit refused to bend. He kept his face blank and his breathing slow. Flare approached smiling and he memorized every subtle gesture. Medicine came, and he pretended to drink while staying clear. Each refused dose sharpened his senses and raised the stakes. He counted guards and listened for schedules and key turns. He watched Flare praise holy war while ordering private cruelty. He learned Praum protected Flare and sensed danger like a beast. He decided rushing would fail, and failure meant endless chains. He used healing to purge lingering toxins and regain focus. He strengthened muscle slowly so no one noticed change. He stole small soldier skills and hid them under weakness. He let pain show when watched and calm show alone. The halcyon eye flashed harsh outcomes whenever he hesitated. In one path Praum sensed rebellion and crushed him instantly. In another path Flare poisoned him before escape could begin. Kiru chose patience and planned a narrow safe route. He spread small rumors through servants about threats near borders. Those whispers reached officers who urged Praum to inspect defenses. Flare agreed because she trusted walls and doubted Kiru. Tension rises as he waits for the escort to leave. His pulse hammers, but he keeps his mask perfectly steady. Every second of waiting feels like standing beside a cliff. He knows one wrong swallow could erase his second chance. If you were Kiru, would you choose mercy or revenge? Tell me in comments which path you would take here. Hit like and subscribe so you do not miss updates. Footsteps approach and Flare enters with medicine and smiling eyes. Kiru lowers his gaze and prepares the next dangerous step. Flare offers the cup and speaks gently as if caring. Kiru takes it and pretends gratitude with lowered eyes. He lets liquid touch lips, then hides most inside cloth. Flare watches closely, then leaves satisfied with her control. Kiru breathes out and feels his mind stay painfully sharp. Morning arrives with trumpets and a crowded hall of nobles. Flare walks beside the king and holds Kiru like a trophy. Priests proclaim destiny and name him the recovery hero again. Kiru kneels and acts confused while rage stays locked inside. The king praises holy war and demands Kiru serve without question. Courtiers applaud because heroes mean safety and cheap glory. Kiru rises slowly and studies faces that once cheered his pain. Flare smiles brightly and whispers that obedience earns protection. Her words sound like chains, and Kiru answers with soft thanks. Servants escort him through gold corridors toward rooms for assets. He memorizes turns because maps become weapons in tight places. Flare gifts him fine clothes, then orders the collar remain visible. She wants him presentable yet clearly owned by royal command. Kiru accepts the outfit and hides disgust behind practiced calm. Court magicians arrive and demand tests for the royal record. They cut a soldier arm and order Kiru heal immediately. Kiru touches the wound and feels fear surge through him. He heals cleanly then staggers so they think pain rules him. Flare calls him noble and the hall repeats that empty praise. Inside his skull the halcyon eye marks every greedy gaze. Testing continues and each wound gives him more copied skill. He steals balance from soldiers and endurance from hardened veterans. He steals dagger handling from guards who enjoy hurting prisoners. Flare notices improvement and orders heavier doses to blunt him. Kiru pretends to drink and keeps his mind clear instead. At night maids arrive with orders to soften him into dependence. Kiru stays vague and keeps the scene non-graphic and brief. He listens more than he speaks and gathers useful schedules. A maid whispers Leonard carries seals that open royal doors. Another maid whispers Praum returns suddenly when danger is near. Kiru stores each detail and tightens his plan around them. Days pass and Flare parades him as proof of righteous power. Crowds cheer while Kiru remembers their silence during his torture. Flare smiles for public, then orders chains tightened after applause. Kiru acts grateful because gratitude buys time inside this cage. A messenger arrives and brings a wounded knight named Kureha. Kureha bleeds heavily and her severed arm shocks the court. Flare sees opportunity and demands a public miracle for prestige. Kiru touches the stump and feels courage mixed with terror. He channels healing and rebuilds bone, muscle, and skin carefully. Kureha gasps as sensation floods back through the new limb. The hall erupts and Flare accepts praise as if she healed. Kureha meets Kiru's gaze and senses a mind behind weakness. Kiru lowers his eyes and lets her doubt fade for now. Afterward Kureha thanks him quietly and swears she owes him. Flare hates that gratitude and orders magicians tighten control. That night the court mage enters with needles and binding spells. He speaks softly and promises pain will teach obedience quickly. Kiru trembles deliberately and begs to appear harmless and tame. Inside he studies each chant and memorizes every hand motion. He copies the ritual through healing insight and silent repetition. The mage presses a mark into skin and expects surrender. Kiru endures and learns the mark weakens after cleansing. When the mage leaves, Kiru purges toxins and dulls pain signals. He tests the mark and feels it tug his thoughts briefly. He discovers healing can touch memory and reshape it carefully. That knowledge frightens him because it mirrors Flare evil methods. Still he knows mercy for monsters breeds future suffering again. He practices on his own bruises to refine control slowly. He learns how nerves reset and how fear can be dulled. Each lesson makes his stomach turn yet strengthens his resolve. Praum passes one day and the corridor temperature seems colder. The king studies Kiru and smiles like a hunting wolf. Kiru bows deep and keeps his pulse slow and steady. Praum warns Flare that heroes must be controlled or destroyed. Flare laughs politely, then orders more chains placed on Kiru. Kiru accepts those chains because they blind her to change. Blade storms into the ward and demands instant healing again. Kiru heals her and tastes violent joy in her memories. He copies her stance and hides strength behind slumped shoulders. Bullet arrives grinning and calls him useful and disposable. Kiru heals Bullet and steals steady aim and ruthless calm. Flare watches them praise victory and never thanks the healer. Kiru nods politely and counts how often they forget him. Later he heals soldiers from raids and gathers their route knowledge. Those memories show supply roads and hidden gates beyond the walls. He marks them in mind and plans where to flee first. Each new secret makes capture feel closer and escape more urgent. He also watches Leonard and learns his habits and routes. Leonard barks orders and servants scatter like frightened birds. Kiru copies the cadence and plans to wear that authority. Flare announces a private feast to celebrate coming victories. She orders guards drink freely because Praum is away soon. Kiru hears officers discussing an inspection beyond the capital. Rumors he planted now push Praum toward that dangerous ride. Stakes rise because the window is real and very short. Kiru prepares cloth for medicine and hides tools in bedding. He memorizes the stable path and the south gate schedule. He whispers a vow that no one will own him again. If you were Kiru, would you wait or strike now? Right below, would you wait longer or strike on this night? Support the channel with a like and subscribe for more. Night falls and drums echo while the palace grows careless. Kiru watches torches drift and feels patience turn into steel. Dawn comes and riders assemble for Praum escort and banners. Kiru counts the horses and confirms Praum leaves the city. When the last hoof fades, Kiru slips toward Leonard quarters. He moves like a shadow and keeps breathing slow and quiet. A single shout would bring guards and end everything instantly. Leonard snores inside and trusts his rank will protect him. Kiru enters and strikes the neck with practiced controlled force. Leonard jerks awake and Kiru clamps a hand over mouth. Leonard fights hard and Kiru feels panic through healing touch. Kiru holds on until Leonard's body slumps into helpless silence. He binds Leonard tightly and heals bruises so marks disappear. Kiru searches pockets and finds keys, seals, and written orders. He pulls the commander cloak over shoulders and steadies hands. Then he reshapes bone and skin and becomes Leonard in lamplight. His voice changes too as copied muscles form clipped authority. Kiru steps into corridor and guards salute without thinking twice. Each salute raises stakes because doubt would summon instant violence. He orders the hall cleared and watches servants flee from fear. Fear obeys symbols, and tonight he uses that rule fully. He walks toward Flare Wing with hard steps and cold eyes. A maid opens the door and bows at Leonard's presence. Flare greets him laughing and lifts a glass in welcome. Kiru closes the door and locks it with quiet finality. Flare studies his face and senses wrongness beneath the mask. Kiru claims Praum demanded secrecy and urgent private security. Flare believes because she trusts control and mocks caution always. Kiru offers a sealed drink and says priests sent it. Flare drinks first to prove dominance and ridicule his concern. Seconds pass and her eyes glaze as the drug takes hold. She tries to stand but legs fail and fold beneath her. Kiru catches her and lays her gently upon soft sheets. Flare curses him, yet her tongue grows heavy and slow. Kiru removes a hidden dagger and places it far away. Her breathing quickens and fear replaces confidence for first time. Kiru says the healer you broke remembers every chain. He reminds her of medicine and collars and forced miracles. Flare tries to deny, but the halcyon eye shows truth. Kiru draws the Philosopher's Stone and feels it hum warmly. Its power amplifies his healing and sharpens control over minds. Kiru hesitates because power like this can create monsters. Then he recalls Blade laughing while his screams filled halls. He recalls Bullet mocking pain and calling cruelty entertainment. He recalls Flare smiling while ordering obedience like holy law. His hesitation hardens into cold purpose and steady resolve. Kiru places a hand on Flare's forehead and begins healing. Magic flows and he enters her mind like a surgeon. He keeps the act clinical and avoids graphic detail entirely. He cuts away drugged instincts and cruel commands anchored deep. He unravels lies she used to keep him broken. He seals his own damaged memories so they cannot control him. Flare thrashes weakly as identity fractures under bright mana. Kiru focuses harder because one slip could shatter both minds. Images of palace lessons flash and dissolve into new silence. Kiru strips her royal name and breaks the princess mask. He reshapes her face subtly and softens features with care. Hair turns lighter and eyes lose the calculating royal glare. He plants fear of the palace and trust toward him. He gives her a new name, Freya, and a blank start. Kiru ends the healing and watches breathing slow down again. Outside, the feast music continues and nobody suspects the storm. Kiru restores Leonard's disguise and opens the door calmly. He orders maids away and claims Flare needs strict rest. Whispers spread, yet fear of Leonard keeps questions swallowed tight. Kiru carries Freya through back halls and shadowed stairways. Guards see the commander and never challenge the silent burden. At the stables he changes back and hides uniform and seals. He dresses Freya in plain travel clothes and covers her hair. He saddles a horse and chooses paths with fewer patrols. City bells ring distant and his heartbeat answers their warning. At the south gate a captain blocks passage and demands papers. Kiru shows Leonard's seal and keeps eyes hard and calm. The captain hesitates, then salutes and waves them through quickly. Once beyond walls, Kiru urges the horse into darker fields. Behind them horns sound as officers discover Flare missing. He hears distant riders and knows the alarm spreads fast. A patrol lantern swings near the road and forces a detour. Kiru cuts through mud and keeps Freya head lowered. The horse stumbles and Kiru heals its legs mid-stride. Freya whispers thanks and he feels guilt twist inside. He remembers she was Flare and keeps anger under control. He promises this escape will not become another cage. When wolves howl nearby, he uses magic to mask scent. Kiru pushes harder because Praum will return and hunt. Freya wakes trembling and asks where she is and why. Kiru speaks gently and says he rescued her from cruel masters. She touches her head and finds only fog and fear. Freya believes because the planted memories feel painfully real. Kiru feels sick because he used the same weapon. Yet freedom tastes real and he refuses to turn back. Soldiers search bridges so Kiru fords rivers under darkness. Rain falls and hides tracks and chills their skin. Each close call increases danger and narrows choices even more. Kiru avoids towns and chooses forests where patrols ride slow. He uses healing to keep the horse strong despite exhaustion. He uses healing to keep Freya warm and quiet and safe. Dawn arrives and fields open wide beyond palace reach. Kiru breathes air without perfume and without drugged haze. He looks at Freya and sees enemy turned burden and warning. He vows nobody will ever own him or break him again. He vows Blade and Bullet and Praum will face judgment. The halcyon eye shows long paths of revenge stretching ahead. Kiru turns away from the capital while smoke rises behind towers. Freya clings to him and the road swallows their footsteps. If you watched this episode, who deserves justice most right now? In the comments, who should face justice after this escape? Leave a like and subscribe if you want the next recap.